Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight to celebrate Pillars of Magyar Poetry. And here is the book. And this anthology covers 6 centuries of Hungarian poems, and it definitely was a labor of love that Paul translated all these wonderful writers. And I think this is actually one of the most important anthologies published. So it's really, I'm just so honored to publish this book. And most of you know Eva here tonight is Paul's wife. And I want to thank you, Eva, for helping me with readers. I really appreciated all your emails and help. I couldn't have done this without you, so thank you. And at the end of the reading, if you would like to stay and comment and say a few words about Paul, that would be lovely. And so let's get started. So our first reader is David P. Miller.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Gloria. It's really a great privilege to have been invited to participate in this event, and I'm grateful to you, Gloria, and to everyone for being here. My name pronunciation will be imperfect, but hopefully not grotesque. So, the first poem that I'm going to read is by Miklos Radnóti. If you have the book, it's on page 125. No way of knowing. I have no way of knowing what this land means to others, but to me, this little country embraced by flames is native soil, the world of my fast receding childhood. I grew up from it like a fragile branch out of a tree trunk, and I hope my remains will someday sink back into it. I am at home. And if one or another bush kneels at my feet, I know its name and what kind of flower it bears. I know where they're headed, I know where they're headed. Who are those marching on the road? And I know what the reddening pain gushing out of cottage walls can mean on a summer eve. To those flying over it, this land is just a map that gives the pilots no idea where the poet Michali von Smarty lived. To them, this map hides factories and wild barracks, what else? But to me, it has crickets, oxen, steeples, peaceful farms. Those looking through binoculars see factories and fields, while I also see workers worried about the fruits of their labor. Forests and orchards filled with birds, vineyards and graves, and among the graves, an old granny softly whimpering. And what looks like target for bombs from above, the workshops and the railroad tracks, also have a grade crossing guard signaling to the train with a red flag and a bunch of kids around. And there's a dog rolling in the dust of the factory yard. And there's the park filled with the footprints of old loves, the taste of kisses in my mouth, now honey, now rhubarb. And on the way to school, stepping up to the sidewalk, I used to step on a particular curbstone for good luck. And look, there's the stone, except you can't see it from above. There's no instrument that would detect and show all that. Yes, I know we are a guilty nation just like the others. We know what sins we've committed, where and how, but there are workers living here, and poets too, unstained by sin, and nursing babies with developing minds lit up by reason. They guard it by hiding it in deep, dark cellars until the finger of peace scrawls a sign on our land once again. They will answer our strangled words with words of their own. You guardian cloud of the night, drop your great wing over us. January 1944. And then I will read 2 brief poems by Gisela Hervé, pages 159 and 160. Spring. The spring, too, is one of her chores. That's why she walks around so quietly with silent fingers. In her hands Mornings are born ahead of time, even before the clatter of milk bottle dawns. Garish truck convoys follow in her wake, but she keeps walking with a smile. She projects the shadows of spaceships and cement glass poems on the century's forehead. Why would she take home a bunch of violets? She knows she's tempted by ultraviolet life, so she keeps working with clenched fists. The sky is a halo erected over her head. And resume. I grew up, didn't I? That means we should redo the resume. There was too much vagrancy connected with. Sorry, I muted myself accidentally. I'll start again, it's short. Resume. I grew up, didn't I? That means we should redo the resume. There was too much vagrancy connected with being an orphan, and too few were the homes available per person. This we must rewrite. Yes, I'm at home here. I create my own landscape, out of words, of course, out of good, sturdy words. They can be size 11 too, but they must be boots. Without boots, you can't march off to war. But of course, that's over now. And an overcoat is also important in this area. It's safe and secure like childhood, which I didn't have. It can be long too. You can always tuck it in. One can grow out of them by the end of their useful lives. Out of poems, of course. The rest we can cross out. Please, cross it out. Just leave the bare facts. Please take this down. I was born like the others. I accept the responsibility according to Central European calendar. Let me have a copy, please. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And our next reader is Barbara Ten Broek.
I am sorry. I was just thanking Eva for inviting me and Gloria. And my husband, Jan, and Paul were great friends intellectually, and we shared families. And Paul selected a lot of my husband's artwork to cover books, including Shadow of the Sun and Zoltán's most recent book, and this one, and a few others. So it's nice to be here. I feel like I'm in good company, remembering both Paul and a little bit Jan. I chose tonight Laszlo Nagy, a short poem on page 154, and it's called Who Can Ferry Love Across? When life has at last done me in, who will admire a cricket violin? Who breathes fire on wet twigs? Who crucifies himself on rainbows? Who embraces weeping rocky hips into gently rolling meadows? Who can fawn on hairs and veins growing on hard walls in vain? Using curses, who will assemble for wild creeds a simple sacred temple? When life has at last done me in, who will stop the vulture's din? Held by his teeth without a loss, who can ferry love across?
Thank you, Barbara. And our next reader is Ron Kalman.
Oh, thanks, Gloria. So I chose a poem by Arpad Toth entitled You Drop the Sun. I thought of you this afternoon. The sun was letting its rays sink and penetrate my shut eyelids, taking on the shade of pink. The brightness gently lit a fire on my tired but black space. With my eyes shut, I was waiting for the wanted voyage's embrace, for the silent, unseen ship to sail off on a magic sea, for my chaise to start its trip in fever waves to rock with me. On its way to the shores of fantastically gorgeous lands, where the splendid home of my melancholic daydream stands. Everything that never really was, everything that never will be. That's how I took off today, with eyes shut as if by death set free, prepared to make believe a life, bathing in the care of the sun, felt as if on my eyelashes a pink ember shower had begun, as if cast by a holy light first seen before the beginning by the eye on the bosom of Father God, its hunger hard to satisfy. Then suddenly in a red heat, a thought instructed me to see, you are very, very far away. There's nothing but woe to me. My eyes popped open with alarm. On the distant mountaintop, crimson clouds were gathering with sorrow that would never stop. I became at once possessed by a strange vision with wild force. Your hands were holding fast the sun and guiding it today on its course. That was why it glowed today with so much brighter, sweeter light. But this I only realize now that I'm sitting in the night. When your tender hands grow tired and let the sun eventually drop, that's when in my fading heart, the songs come to a halting stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And our next reader is Zsolt Balla.
Can you all hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. I'll start with Sándor Kányádi, Behind God's Back. A little bit about this poem. That this was written in 1985 under the Nicolae Ceausescu regime, when celebrating Christmas was forbidden, and you could get punished for if there was ever a Christmas tree in your home. So it and people had to, even if they had a Christmas tree, and they closed the drapes to make sure that the secret police don't see it. So here goes the poem. Behind God's Back. Isten háta mögött. Empty mangers, empty stalls. Christmas here no longer calls. No use waiting for the wise man at the door. The Creator's got a lot to do. Can't see all those in the queue. Far star is that sun to shine on everyone. We know we must have faith in him, but the evenings are so dim, and the lack of loving care leaves us feeling cold and bare. In foresight, O Lord, you don't lack, but take a look behind your back. We've been stuck here for a while, waiting for your blessing smile. And the second poem, if I may read that one as well, is from Jenő Dzsida, The Last Our Father, az utolsó mi atyánk. What you have to know about this poem is that when he wrote this poem, he was in a hospital in Kolozsvár, dying at the age of 31. And this is the poem where he accepts his fate. And it was his last poem. So the last Our Father. Minuscule little pill. Time to turn out the light. Our Father who art in heaven. Another scream in the night. To fall asleep. To fall asleep. Serenity, silence, and peace. Hallowed be thy name. Is there an end to these? Sighs the visitor in dark. Lucky are those who die. May thy kingdom come. I'm beginning to feel high. Stars begin to blink, beckoning with glee. Let thy will be done. It's all the same to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next reader is Zoltán Böszörményi.
See, because we have a beautiful word in English, sir. So it means if you put all the O's, sir, Böszörményi. Okay, Zoltán. Which means king. Well, because I did not have that volume, I sent you two poems translated by Paul, two poems from the volume entitled Liberty, Rats, and Sandpaper, which was very, very popular. You know, the title is very attractive, Liberty, Rats, and Sandpaper. You too would watch your hat, kapkodnád a fejed. An eagle may fly like this smack up against your head, and all you feel is the feathers swish and the wings caressing fall softly, and yet it can tear your face all open to the rain by the pecking and the claws, and your inner face is bare like a dead king's ripped up cape, but the smack flies on and on inside you, ripples a lake down deep where your soul's own mirrors creep. You feel the bull's eye thrown of dart, thrown by this, their playing part. At a time like this, you rightly feel like a cupboard where the glassware shelf has collapsed amidst a crashing peal. Walking from the blow dealt by the pest, you question every face around. Did any of them hear the crash inside your chest? And the second is the Kolozsvár horror. You have to know that Géza is was a poet hunted by the Romanian secret police, and the next little piece is about that. You will anyway understand. The Kolozsvár horror. Kolozsvári horror. On a November night, worrying about the police raid on my apartment, I tossed the cassette tape in the river. Your voice was on it. You probably know which recording it was. For a long time afterwards, every time I crossed the bridge over the Somersj, I could hear your calling from the water. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next reader is Ellen Britt.
Thank you, Gloria, Ava, everyone. What a wonderful, wonderful gathering. And it's for a sad event, but I'm glad to be here, honored to be here. So, as was said earlier, the pronunciation of the names, not sure I'm going to get this one correctly, but Janos Falinski. Is that close? Yeah. Yes. Two poems by Janos. The first one is called The Angel of Brightness, Remembering a Christmas During a World War. The vault of our sky turned dark. It looked like the somber cloud of Judgment Day had broken in and left us under darkness bowed. Children's heart can be so heavy. We wondered what managed to make our fragile world around us tremble. Even houses and gardens quake. And then in the giant silence, softly and without a note at all, without a sign, it slowly began. Unnoticed, snow started to fall. And as carefully as the lustrous snowflakes landed without a sound, the light-bearing angel of brightness slowly stepped down to the ground. And the second poem called by Janos, Fabula, translated as fable. Once upon a time, there lived a lone wolf in the woods. Angels could not have been lonelier. One day he wandered into a village and fell in love with the first house he saw. He even loved the walls, the way the bricklayer had caressed the plaster. But the window stopped him. Inside the room, people were sitting around. Only God would have denied them as beautiful as this pure-hearted beast did. At night, he stole into the house, stopped in the middle of the room, and never made another move again. With eyes open, he stayed standing all night, and even in the morning, when they beat him to death.
And our next reader is Clara Aich.
Once again, I start again. So thank you for being here, to allow me to be here. And I chose two pieces. I don't know how short or long. One of them is The Departure of Old Age, or Indulás az öregkorba, Babics Mihálytól. Basing in the tick-tock of the clock, I let ripples of tiny moments attack and sneak me slowly to a distant land where there will be no turning back. They carry me along, but the show of the shore is so slow. It's a flop, and yet trees and houses pass me by. There is no point screaming stop. What to wear for the trip? What to pack? What equipment will I need? It's like planning an Arctic expedition to frozen polar region far indeed, where only green eyes, descentful northern lights, and whitish fog banks roam. That's how I have to plan the journey that I never bring me home. I can see my fate already. It will be cruel and unforgiving trek. No helicopter, no Coast Guard cutter will ever come to save my neck. Happy to hear who tracks the Arctic ice, a venture of hope and doubt for the brave. My journey has but one possible and that certain outcome, the grave. That was one of them. And the other one is the Cousin of Death, which is a halál rokona of the Endrétől. I'm the cousin of death. Waning loves can claim my heart. I love to kiss those preparing to depart. I love the pale sickly roses, women wilting from desire, slanted sun rays, sad autumn days about to expire. I love the ghostly beckoning of sorrowful long hours, the playful mimicry of sacred death, the great death flowers. I love those departing, those who weep on awakening, on meadows of dawn when cold frost showers sing. I love liquid resignations, tearless crying and its peace, and the refuge of thinkers, poets, and the ill in release. I love the disappointed, the crippled with maladies, those bereft of hope and belief. I love the world as it is.
Thank you, Clara. And our next reader is Michael Folds.
Thanks, Gloria. It's nice to see the people that I saw just a couple of weeks ago in Woodbridge. Very nice. Appreciate that. That was a great time, and it feels good to be back, so to speak. I'm going to read two poems from Attila Joseph. And before I start that, I'm going to, Paul did a nice thing here. He gave a paragraph about each of the poets that he translated. Attila Joseph also grew up in a poor, when I say also, it's because Alois Kosik, whose paragraph precedes Attila's, apparently was also from a poor background, which isn't unusual back in the day. Attila Joseph grew up in a truly poor proletarian circumstances, without a father and losing his mother while still a minor, becoming his sister's ward. For his poem, With a Pure Heart, he was dismissed from the university, never to finish his formal education, but he was still able to achieve recognition for his poetry. Unfortunately, he died at an early age of suicide. That's not verbatim exactly, but it pretty much tells what it is. So the two poems I'm going to read are With a Pure Heart, and then one that he wrote 12 years later. So With a Pure Heart was written in 1925. Tista Svivel, fatherless and motherless, godless and countryless, I'm without a crib or coffin, without a lover to possess. For the third day I have gone without a meal of any kind. My 20 years are worth a soup. It's a buyer I must find. If no one else will purchase them, I don't care if the devil will. With a pure heart I will rob, and if I'm paid, I'll even kill. So what if I get caught and hanged, buried under hallowed ground? Over my great gorgeous heart, deadly grasses will abound. So that's what he got kicked out of the university for. And 12 years later, one of the last poems he wrote, it's called For My Birthday. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but today I'm turning 32. For a gift, this verse will do. Gimcrack, knick-knack. In a nook of this cafe, it's the surprise of the day from me to me. 32 years have slipped away, never earned me a monthly pay. How grand my land. I tried wielding chalk rather than a poet's unwieldy fountain pen. A sad old lad. But no good teach became of me, dismissed by university, nitwit, bigwig. His admonition still hits home, for my With a Pure Heart poem, tried hard to guard the land against the likes of me. With my spirit eyes, I still can see his flame and name. As long as I live, you'll never fare as a high school teacher anywhere, he glows. If it warms Professor Horger's heart, this poet's given up grammar art, his joy, poor toy. A high school is not my end. It's the whole nation I intend to reach and teach. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Our next reader is Endre Szentkiralyi.
Thank you. The first poem is by the greatest Hungarian epic poet of the 19th century, romantic, János Arany. And this is a ballad which refers to an ancient myth that if someone gets murdered, the corpse would begin bleeding if the murderer entered the room. And in this ballad, the father is a lord of a castle, and his son has been murdered. And so the father is trying to find out who killed his son and orders everyone into the room in the castle by Radvány. The poem is called Trial by the Corpse, Tetemre hívás. In the deep dark forest of Radvány was Barci Benő discovered dead, a spiky dagger in his youthful heart. Here's the evidence, and it's easily read. Violence caused his blood to be shed. His father had him brought into the fort, and on cold stone floor placed on display, without him having been washed and dressed. Frozen in blood is found, he lies at rest on this bier uncovered day after day. 4 guardsmen are posted nearby. Not a soul is allowed in or out. What if his mother and sister come and try to mourn him? Turn them back. These orders are for no one to flout. From hall to hidden hall, choking force and silent sobs of womanly woe at loose. Let the law issue summons to the corpse. To whoever bears the shadow of doubt, let the bleeding of the wound accuse. The palace is wrapped in black drapery. Even at noon, the sun can't reach its walls. The corpse is surrounded by courtroom props, candle, crucifix, canonized priests and cops, wax yellow light on the funeral palls. Summon his enemies, if any indeed. They enter, all those the father can name. In vain. The wound doesn't open to bleed, faced by anyone. The result is the same. Not guilty. Again, there's no one to blame. Then who did it? Barci's cry is dark and raw. It is revenge this ancient blood demands. Get that murderer. Even if my thirst for law should pierce my heart with a fateful charge, everyone's a suspect, everyone alive who stands. Summon his young friends, all of them. One after another, they duly appear. It hurts them to see the hero frozen in blood instead of falling in a battlefield flood. But there's no bleeding fresh on the bier. Summon the whole household, all of them. Summon the entire village of Barc. Tears flood the eyes of all the women and men. They look at their dear lord with heavy hearts, but no bleeding from the wound ever starts. Summon his mother, his unwed sister. Already outside, the girl begins to scream. The mother slumps down on him, squealing, but the dead displays no sign of feeling. His blood remains a black spot, not a stream. Summon at last his beautiful beloved, his secret betrothed, the Kunz Abigail. She enters. Her eyes flash, then on the dagger land, her face a mask, her feet root where they stand. The blood's gushing red this time and doesn't fail. No tears are running, no scream from her. Just her hands fly to her head, the source of truth. Horror inside her slowly begins to stir. The heart skips beating on hearing the charge. My girl, you are the murderer of this youth. As the blood's witness is rightly confirmed, she's silent, enthralled. Then her voice comes alive. It was not I who killed Barci Benő, I swear. Heaven be my witness, and the angels up there. However, it was I who gave him the knife. My heart belonged to him in eternal love. He knew of nothing to keep us apart. Yet he pestered me for a verbal yes. If it's a no, he said it'll be his death. I laughed. See if this dagger finds your heart. From the wound wrenching the dagger, the maid sets her eyes, shooting out terrible flares. Laughing and crying, she flashes the blade and runs off with the screech of a jay. To lay a hand on her, no one dares. Outside, she gambols and runs in the street, dancing and singing in front of the house. Once there was a girl who used to enjoy playing with her adoring lover boy, like a cat is wont to do with a mouse. So that's definitely a 19th century ballad. The next one is by Sándor Márai, who was born in 1900. He left Hungary in 1948, eventually ended up settling in San Diego and died in 1989. This poem is called Angel from Heaven, Mennyből az Angyal, which is the title of a very, very popular Hungarian Christmas carol. And he wrote this around Christmas time in 1956 when he was in New York and he was watching the 1956 revolution from afar. he kind of viewed the Hungarian nation as a redemptive, crucified metaphor throughout the poem. It kind of mixes the words of the Hungarian carol with what was going on in 1956. Lots of religious imagery expressing his frustration. So this one is called Mennyből az angyal, Angel from Heaven. Angel from heaven, you must make your way to smoldering Budapest without delay. To a wintry city you must intrude, where the Russian tanks roar and bells are mute. Where Christmas lights are now a luxury, no golden fruits are hanging from the tree. There's nothing but hunger and shivering cold. Tell them all, and the way it must be told. Your voice in the night must not relent. Bring them news of the wondrous event. Flap your wings with all deliberate speed. Waiting for you are some folks in need. Don't talk about the world out there, about warm houses lit by candle flare, where dinner tables are now being set. The priest is soothing, tells you not to fret. Wrapping paper rustles with the gift. Words of wisdom hand out moral lift. Sparklers lend the trees light and scent. Angel, tell them of the wondrous event. Announce the world's great new mystery. A long-suffering people's Christmas tree was set on fire in the silent night. So many now cross themselves at the sight. The peoples of every crowded continent just keep staring. It's so hard to comprehend. Some shake their heads as they turn away. Some just pray, yet some back off in dismay. It's not candy hanging from the tree, but the Christ of all peoples, Hungary. There are so many who played a part. The soldier who stabbed him in the heart, the Pharisee who sold him out in the end, the one 3 times gainsaid being a friend. One kept washing hands clean in a bowl, 30 pieces of silver was one's goal. And heaping curses another would thresh, drinking innocent blood and eating flesh. The multitudes can only stand and stare, but to speak to the victim, they don't dare. He speaks no more, nor does he sue. Christ on the cross just looks at you. How peculiar is this Christmas tree, brought by an angel or some devilry? Those busy throwing dice for the cloak know not what they do. They're just plain folk, although they sniff and snort and suspect the great secret of the night of unrest. This Christmas is filled with much unease. The Hungarian people hang from the trees. The world keeps talking of the mystery. Priests sermonize about the bravery. Wrapped in caution, statesmen sympathize. The Pope sends his blessings and his sighs. People, regardless of beliefs or class, question why this ever had to pass. Why didn't they perish like it was meant? Why didn't they just wait for the end? Why was the sky rent with a great puff when a people said, that's enough? The peoples of the world still can't understand what tsunami has hit this fateful land. What shook the whole world order up like hell? One people cried out, and then silence fell. But some still ask, what was it about? Over flesh and bones, who wields the clout? They keep asking with hesitant intent, more and more, for they can't comprehend. They who got it with their family tree, what's the big deal about this liberty? Angel, your news from heaven must be spread. Blood breeds new life every time it's shed. They meet often in pastures or in the wild, the donkey, the shepherd, and the child. Beside the manger lying down in straws, when life begets the new life without a pause. The wonder is still there for them to guard. With their panting breath, they watch it hard. Dawn is breaking, but the star is not yet spent. Go tell them, you, angel from heaven sent.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. And our next reader is Matthew Richards.
Thank you, Gloria. So I've got 2 poems by Lajos Kosák, starting on page 85 in the collection. This first one is called A Worker Portrait. God did not create this head in his own image. This head is tortured by the memory of yesterday and the doubt of today. In this head, the seeds of revolution are germinating. For this head, an executioner has long been laying in ambush. These hands are under the control of creative spirit. These hands are cursed from the right and blessed from the left. These hands can bang down and elevate at the same time. These hands bear the marks of handcuffs. These hands are not clasped in prayer. These hands detest blood. These feet do not slip on an orange peel. These feet connect west with the east. These feet trample over the dragon's 7 heads. These feet make their way to regions the head dreams about. This heart is wounded by the tyrant's weapons. This heart renews itself from its own embers. This heart is like the twin brother of my heart. This man is like me. Under the same sky, we sing the same song of sowing and harvest. And then this next one is called The Enforcement of the Law. The good executioner opens his window, peers out over the begonias. He's enormous, like an ox, and infantile. The good executioner says his prayers, but the town wakes up from a frightful dream. It's proclaimed by trumpets, advertised by posters. The execution is at dawn at 5 o'clock. A great day for beggars. Everyone who can manage it holds out his hat, begging for loose change. Dogs start whining. The prostitutes sneak out of the police station. The good executioner gets on his way, and he feels as if he was leading by hand his smallest child to Holy Communion. In the meantime, daybreak comes to earth, and I dive headfirst into the black sea of my ink, where no one can see me.
Thank you, Matthew. And our next reader is Anne Elizabeth Pluto.
Hi, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this really spectacular reading. And I'm probably going to get the pronunciation incorrect. I'll be reading 2 poems from Sándor Wios. Is that how you say it? Yes? No? All right, I guess I'll keep going. So the first poem is The Rider of the Plaza. You are the rider of the plaza. People flock to you to be roused, carrying sheaves of wheat. You're the focal point of love. You are, when you are, man, and nothing else anymore. You're the question, and you're the false answer. We all love you, and yet when you are, you're not to be expected, not to be stolen, next to nothing. In your tracks, the barking hounds of fright, not to be silenced by anything. And the second poem is called After Creation. The first day in hell after creation is still bright and clear. Someone's banging away over the meadow. The whole area quakes. Someone's waiting for the hopelessly lost. Someone can see. Is it me? Someone can touch. Is that me? There's someone now beyond reach in the past who can no longer recognize things once seen and touched on a sliver of fog. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Annie. And what a wonderful, wonderful evening celebrating Paul's translations and his book. Now I'd like to open it up to any comments you would like to say, anything you would like to say about Paul also, and you can unmute yourselves.
May I read 2 poems before we finish reading poems?
Yes, and your name's Anne. What's your last name?
Perfect.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to read a poem by Attila József and Endre Szentkiralyi. And these are two classic Hungarian poems. And I chose them partly because when I was first studying Hungarian, these were two poets that the teacher had us translate as exercises. Now, not these poems, but the poets. And that was Laszlo Tikos, who taught at UMass Amherst. And I was a student at Smith at the time. And Professor Tikos was teaching a course in Hungarian for some grad students in archaeology who were preparing to go on a dig to Transylvania. So I got to set in on the course. So Attila József, I'll be a gardener, page 95. I'll be a gardener of trees. With the rising sun, I'll rise and see to it that none of my pregnant flowers ever dies. Pregnant, loving flowers will flock around me in a sea, and I don't care their kiss can sting if their flowers true to me. I'll drink milk and smoke a pipe. My good name I will staunchly guard. No harm can come to me if I plant myself too in the yard. There's a great need for this work in the East and in the West. When this world dies, it will need flowers on its grave to rest. I'm also a gardener. And for the other poem, Endre Szentkiralyi, page 54, My Doubting Magyar Soul. My army and my people, all in all, I love you all. Seeing you pursuing and pursued, I root for you, foolishly fired up. It hurts me seeing you like that, sad and egged on by fate. It hurts me that now I hold my sharp throat numbed by a noose. Hogs are standing in my way, oinking and forbidding. My sobering howls shrived up in the wasteland. My sobering howls shrivel up in the wasteland of the grand command. I'd like to gather my own army to turn things back the way they were. I only hope my doubting Magyar soul will be proven wrong someday.
Gloria, a few words only to say to the others as well. I enjoyed every reading. I think the most close friends of Paul was Mike Furdis and Ellen Britt and Dave Raskos. Certainly others as well, but you know, they have daily working sessions, which I knew for more than 20 years. And it is interesting that the poems what you were reading today, it was a great selection, actually. But what I can say, that Vörös Sándor, it was Sándor Vörös. Yes, somebody did not pronounce. There is a ö from sir, so there is in English an ö. And it what struck me the mostly, it was that Paul translated really pillars of the Hungarian poetry. However, if you are a Hungarian erudite in literature, it means that many things were missed, though important things, but just you cannot blame Paul for that, because the Hungarian poetry, it's so huge. You know, it is really, it was a a very, very hard task to choose those poems, really to have them translated into English, which were for us or others the most important. As is like, you know, going to Ferlinghetti and trying to to translate from Ferlinghetti and others, you know, poems, Walt Whitman as well. But what it is interesting that the Hungarian poets were not isolated at all. They had such a great communication throughout the world with other poets. So Paul caught this moment of the communication, and that was, I think, the most important of his task, that he really tried to convey both sides, you know, English and Hungarian, because he was writing Hungarian poems as well. And yeah, he left me a task, a very hard task, to publish his last Hungarian poems. And before a few days before he went, he send me a few emails. These are my poems, and that's it. You promised me that you are going to publish them. Yes, I'm going to publish them. Everybody is great. Everybody is great tonight. And Gloria, you organized such a great evening. And
Thank
for me,
you.
I'm applauding everyone.
Thank you, Zoltán.
Thank you. And
Thank
I
you,
have to give credit to Eva too, because she helped me plan this, and I couldn't have done this without her. So thank you, Eva.
And
Yes,
thank you.
I almost I did not forget, but I just missed Eva, because we were well, you know, since Paul left us, we were in touch with each other, and so many memories and so many things came up, you know, about Paul and the friends and everybody. You know, it's for me, it's even now, it's incomprehensible that he left, that he's no more. I cannot touch that thing. So
Thank you.
He's right behind Eva.
yes, yes,
Mhm.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's a great
Dear
collection of
Ellen,
poetry.
dear Ellen. So he translated Ellen's poetry, and certainly I told him, please send me the English text. And he sent me. I said to him, you know, he was angry sometimes with me. He said, no, Paul, think about this. This is what Ellen wanted to say. And he thought about it and so on. And then we agreed. But he's such a wonderful person. It was, we had so many, exchanges, let's say, not quarrels, exchanges of words and so wisdom, if I should say. And he was every morning when he was in New Jersey in his home, doing the routine, the daily routine. And yes, everyone was there. Ellen was there, Michael was there, Mike Foldes, Dave Roscoe's was there. So many things he sent me. Look, watch this, read this, you know. He was a wonderful guy, wonderful guy. Yes.
Does anyone else
remembered.
have something they would like
Yes,
to say?
I did want to just say thank you to everyone for being here, for Paul. And thank you to Ava for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And I invited my partner who is here too, Jim. And Paul was so determined to get these poems out, and it was really his life's work, and we should all be very grateful to him for this great job that he did.
Great selection. Everyone read wonderful poems, and for me, first of all, I love anthologies because you get a lot of different voices. But what I love with this book, because I don't speak Hungarian, but Paul did such a great job of translation that, you know, even as an American speaking English, it's so accessible, and it reminds you of the universality of poetry, that you could come from Hungary or you could sit here in Brooklyn, New York, where I am, and understand life and love and everything that goes into poetry. I found this very inspiring. The book is great, and of course, you know, the sadness. Remember, you know, Paul was, I mean, I never met Paul in person, but we had interaction. I helped him edit some books, and he sent me a lot of books, and he had humor, he had intelligence. He was a fabulous poet in his own right. I published him several times in my magazine. And I think tonight was a really great tribute to him. I think he's looking down and, you know, appreciating everybody. And this is really a beautiful, beautiful tribute to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Gloria, I have a poem that I wrote for Paul. Would this be the time and place to share that or not, or another time?
Oh, definitely. Please share it.
Let's see if I can share my screen. I can do this. No, you have to do something so I can share my screen. You have to go to security or something.
Can you read it, Paul? Because I read the poem in David Roscoe's yes,
Yeah,
blog.
You
Can
can
you
share
read
the
it, Alan?
screen.
oh, here it is. Yeah, can you all see it?
Yes.
And of course, there is Paul. Okay. Let's see if there are any names I'm going to mess up. No. I think the names I was going to mess up are in this one. Sorry. That's also for Paul. But anyway, I'll read this one, Magical Dreamer. Yes, as Zoltán said, Dave Roscoe's just put these two poems with the pictures of Paul up on his, I don't know what you call it, his website or whatever.
Blog site.
His blog, yeah. Yeah, so this picture of Paul, of course, was taken, I don't know if you can see my cursor, out in the woods near, not far from where Paul and Ava lived. This was the other one in the next to Magical Dreamer. Of course, we were in an art installation. We went to many of them. Excuse me. And I took that picture of Paul. Anyway, I'll read this one called Magical Dreamer then. Because of Paul, I understand that dreams are eternal, that dreams deliver truth. And when I run into blinking yellow lights stuck in a time warp, I realize I have another 1,000 years or so to explore my life. Consequently, I refuel by donating my hard-earned past, present, and future self to the universal goodwill galaxy floating somewhere in space. My friend, my brother Paul, understood the truth in dreams. He showed me truth over and over again. He showed me in his poems. He showed me in my poems. He showed me in his translations from Hungarian to English and vice versa. He even found truth in wild mushrooms, then fed that truth to me for dinner. Such a magical truth. I can still taste that truth, a truth that floats on the wind like the illuminated pear-shaped soul of my brother, Paul Sohar. He was magical like that.
Nice,
So
nice
anyway,
poem, Alan.
yeah,
Great,
thank you
great,
for
Alan.
allowing me to share that. Thank
Great,
you very
great,
much.
great.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Yeah, what a wonderful group. What I see friends, people we saw, as Mike pointed out, we saw in Woodbridge, I forget, that was like a few weeks ago, whatever. But yeah, this is a great gathering, and Paul certainly deserves it. I see him, Alicia made it. Good for you, Alicia. Anyway, thank you, Gloria and Ava and everybody. Zoltán, really good to see you.
Good to see you, Alan.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Alan, what
Bye-bye,
book
all.
was that from? Could you tell us the title
What
of
is
the
that
book
again?
that was from? What book was that
It's-
from that you just read from?
It is a blog,
Well,
and
it's
I
not-
will send it to you.
Yes, it's a blog, Dave Roscoe's blog. Yeah,
I will send it to you, Emma.
The Big Hammer.
exactly. A big hammer he does, yeah.
We have to say a few words of thanks for Eva as well this night, because Eva stood beside his bed and he caressed him, and he was a pillar of him, of the last all of the last moments, and he was such a brave lady. Really, I praise her so much, because what she did, it was a huge, enormous comfort to Paul, because he knew he is not alone. And that was very, 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 very important. Thank you, Eva. Thank you for all what you have done for Paul.
Everybody would do that.
Thank you all. Unfortunately, I have to leave, but this has been fantastic and most memorable. I appreciate everybody's readings, and Paul especially. Zoltán, good to see you.
Good to see
Sorry
you,
we
Mike.
missed you a couple
Send
weeks
me
ago.
poems, send me poems, send me poems.
Yeah,
Send me
okay, I
poems.
will, no problem. One a day.
Yeah, and I love them. I love them. I tell you, you are a great poet. Yeah, it's.
I appreciate
it's
that. Like
unbelievable.
vitamins.
Like,
Bye
well,
now.
morning vitamin, you know.
Bye, Michael. Thank you.
I know. Thank you. Appreciate it,
Any
Gloria and
last,
Eva. Very nice.
thank you. Any last comments before we close this evening? Well, I just want to say
Danuta
thank
has-
you. Oh, go ahead. No, okay. I just want to say, Andre, go ahead.
No, just wanted to say, as always, it's wonderful, very, very important. These anthologies of, the group things are very, very important, because it gives some idea about the whole layer of poetry, of literature, of sensibility, because it puts together people with sort of similar sensibilities. This is very interesting, very, very interesting to watch that. Okay, it's like you did Russian poets, I mean, an English translation or whatnot now, Hungarian. I think it's a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. And Zsolt Balla, you wanted to say something? No, I guess he was saying goodbye. Anyway, again, thank you. And I know I will carry Paul in my heart always. And it was an honor to do this book. And I just am very touched by knowing him. And you know, and now I've met many of you that are his friends and Eva, and so I'm touched all the more. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Thank you for reading and for commenting, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you too.
You know, Gloria, this book it meant so much to Paul. It was really important. And so thank you for seeing it through, getting it published. It made him knowing it was going to happen, made him very happy. Yeah, and it's a great book too. Wonderful book.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a big honor. It really
Thank you,
was.
Gloria, and thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
really.
you. Okay. Well, good night, everybody. And Eva, thank you again. And thank you.
Thank you,
And
Gloria.
nighty night.